to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are discussing about design verification interview questions. In design verification interview, mostly system Verilog, and UVM questions are asked and with their concepts. So in this series, I will cover Verilog, system Verilog, and UVM interview questions. So let's start with our video. So our first question is explain the protocol handshake between a sequencer and a driver. Sequencer and driver are the components in UVM test bench, and first we will see where these are. Here is our sequencer and here is our driver, and we are talking about handshake between these two components. Sequencer get its transactions from sequence and it sends to the driver, and driver sends this to the interface. How they communicate we will see here. Now in interview they will ask what and how they do this handshake. There are four methods involved in this handshake. Sequence is object in UVM test bench, and sequence will send multiple packets to sequencer, and this sequencer start method will take these packets and send to driver. Now how will they send? Here is one FIFO with infinite length, or we can say it has a sparse memory. As you add packets or elements in this, the memory will increase. Now for example, if number one packet come here, and the get next item will take this packet number one, and this number one will packet go to interface. That's the job of driver. So up till this process of transferring the packet one to the interface, get next item will stop another transaction to come in. This is called blocking method. Now if the process is complete of transferring the first packet to interface, item done will send response to finish item. Here is also one FIFO. For example, if our response is acknowledgement, here finish item is also blocking method, so it will block until the acknowledgement come to the finish item. So finish item will make sure that item get next item will send this data to interface and the response comes. So this is whole process of sequencer and driver handshake. Now in interview, what is the perfect statement to say when this question is asked? So you can say that sequencer and driver used four methods for handshake: start item, get next item done, and finish item. In that, start item and item done is non-blocking method, and get next item and finish item is blocking method. They use FIFO in between the both component for sending the transaction and getting the transaction. Now let's move to the next question. What is virtual sequence and where do we use virtual sequence? What are its benefits? Here virtual sequence is a container which contains the handles of sequence, multiple sequence like this one and this one, sequence 1 and sequence 2. It also contains the handle of virtual sequencer, like V here V sequencer is a handle. Now for connecting this virtual sequencer to virtual sequence, we need P sequencer, because virtual sequencer has two handles of sequencer, Q1 and Q2. And virtual sequencer will run this Q1 sequencer to sequence 1 and this Q2 sequencer to sequence 2, but this will controlled by virtual sequence and virtual sequencer. For connecting this path, virtual sequence to virtual sequencer and virtual sequencer to sequencer 1 and sequencer 2 and sequence 1 and sequence 2, we need P sequencer. The reason for using P sequencer is because these two classes is inside the test, and there is no connection between virtual sequence and virtual sequencer. Virtual sequence can connect virtual sequencer, but it cannot run Q1 sequence because virtual sequencer is inside environment class, and environment class can connect to these two classes. This is agent where sequence 1 and sequence 2 is there, and sequencer 1 and sequencer 2 is there. For connecting this 1, 2, 3 and then 4, this 4 path, we need p sequencer. What is job of p sequencer? What is inside that p sequencer? So p sequencer has all the handles of sequencer 1, q1, q2, v sequencer, and sequence has handle of both sequence. So this matching of different handles of sequencer or pointers, we can say, is done by p sequencer. So what is virtual sequence? Virtual sequence is a container. And where do we use virtual sequence? We use virtual sequence for containing multiple sequence. And what is its benefit? Its benefit is in large environment, like when you work on Intel or Samsung, there will be no small environment, there will be very big environment. So we cannot write and this multiple paths and multiple sequencer and cannot control it while going inside the environment because there are multiple files. So we can control this by virtual sequence and virtual sequencer, and we can run any sequence in that. Like sequencer 1 can run sequence 1, sequencer 2 can run sequence 2 with the help of virtual sequencer and virtual sequencer. So that's it from this video, and thank you.